Hello again. Okay, let's get back into it. Time for the suit. Now we're gonna start with a nice little buffing out of the whole body, because Homelander has a muscle suit underneath his clothes, so he needs to be buffer. So we're gonna start adding and dragging muscles around. Just make sure he is a little bit buffer. It's not like he's a bodybuilder, but he needs more muscle. So we're gonna add triceps, biceps, a little bit of forearms, and enlarge the chest and the back. And we're gonna start adding some detailing to better show his muscles. So just make sure the little details like the collarbone and the chest indentations are showing. Then we're gonna work on the abs. Now, if you have a problem with this, usually what helps is just having a picture of a muscular body, and you can just trace the muscles. It's pretty easy once you have reference. Now, I've done it a lot of times, so I can kind of get it without looking at anything. It's not gonna be perfect, but I can get the general shape right. So now let's add in a picture so we can better see. Hold on. There we go. Now we can see exactly how the suit is, so we can be more accurate. So let's fix up the chest and add those lines where it will be sewn in. Okay, that's good for now. We will probably subdivide one time here too. Okay, now to make the flap. There are many ways we could do it. We could even add another mesh entirely, but I'm gonna do the laziest way, which is selecting all the geometry in the chest and just extrude it and then kind of make it work. Now, something's not working here. I'm not sure why. When I rotate it, this weird thing happens. I'm not sure why that is. So it's fine. It doesn't matter. We'll just extrude it out so it has some height. Then we'll smooth out this side to make it look like it's coming out of there. And we can add more height to the edge to make that line happen. And that's pretty much, we're okay with it now. It's starting to look like it's supposed to. We'll make it look better in a second, but that's pretty much all you have to do for this. Just make sure the connecting parts are smooth and make sense visually, and smooth it out here so it doesn't you can't tell we extruded it. Perfect. This is going to go inside the belt so it doesn't show. Okay, just crease up the chest. There we go. Awesome. Let's work on something else now. Let's work on the actual texture of no, before we do that, we need to make the neck, because it's very prominent. What is it called? The piece of the clothing that goes up the neck? I forget it. Oh my god. Okay. Alright, let's extrude upwards and make it look like in the picture. Okay, let's count the sides. Make sure it's symmetrical. Okay, and extrude upwards. Now it's a little bit wide, but we can fix it with dragging in sculpt mode. Let's just get the height right. Yeah, I'm going to use some proportional editing to open up the color like that. And then with drag, we're going to make the whole thing tighter. Proportional editing is cool. Is that circle in the middle of the screen, top middle? When you click it and you select a vertice or a face or whatever, you can, with the middle mouse, with a wheel, you can select how big the circle is that appears on the screen, and that dictates how many faces get moved along smoothly with the face you have selected. So it's a cool tool. You can use it. It's kind of like drag, but in edit mode. So you can get a few more uses out of that. Okay, now select all the edge and extrude it out a little bit because it has that line. And then add a loop cut in the middle. Let's just make sure nothing's clipping. Okay, set it flat. Okay, cool. Now, let's drag it in and make it tighter. Just make sure it's tucked in there. Try and make it as straight as possible so it doesn't look wrinkly. It's not going to show at the size you're going to print it at, but it's good to have a good model. Okay, so just try and make it as straight as possible. Always remember symmetry. Turn symmetry on from the tool tab on the right. Okay, now let's add some loop cuts to add more geometry so that it can bend and look more realistic. And we'll just, don't worry about the head part sticking out. We're just gonna crease it. Okay, I'll select the head, hide it, perfect. All right, what are we gonna do now? Let's add this loop on the top. Make it a little bit more popping out. And now what we probably need to do is add some texture. No, let's add the shoulder things first. There's a couple of here, like straps. I'm not sure what they are. But there is some 3D detail on the shoulders. So let's make it slowly by adding and smoothing. Add the straps. Because usually with like flat suits like this, there is texture, but there is not a lot of 3D detail. And when you print the model, it's just gonna look like flat skin suit, and you don't want that. So we can add as much detail as we can with what we're working with. So now we're gonna add more definition on the muscles. He doesn't have a lot of definition, but it kind of shows like a little bit through the cloth. So let's work on that now. Buff out the shoulders a little bit, maybe the biceps and the triceps too. Just with the reference, make sure it looks as close as possible. You don't need to make it identical, but try and get it right. Now let's add some tricep definition. Make the arms pop out. Add the elbow. And some muscle creases. Even though the forearm is going to be covered by the gloves, it's good to have some detailing. Just for experience too. You learn how to do it more. Okay, it's starting to look more realistic. Just make sure the tricep is bigger than the bicep. Sometimes you get the bicep bigger than the tricep, which is not how reality works. Triceps are what make the arm look big. We're getting in some gym advice now. If you want your arms to look big, work on your triceps. So now I'm going to subdivide one more time because we need more detail in order to add in texture with a textured brush. Because as you can see, the suit has all these little blue markings and it's quite coarse. So to replicate that, we're going to use the crease modifier, the crease brush with a texture applied to it. Now, after I get done with these lines, just pinch them up, make them look better. We are going to work on the texture of the suit. Okay, let's see if we can add more 3D space here. Not really. No. We just made it worse. Let's just undo the whole thing. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Good enough. Let's just make the flap a little bit straighter and pull it out just a little bit, so it looks closer to the real thing. Okay, let's just drag it out, push it back in, like fool the audience into thinking it's a separate piece even though it's not. Now, it might not look very good right now in such a zoomed in state. Once you print it, it's gonna look pretty good. I promise. Just add more detailing on the line and I think it's popping. Just a little bit more creasing here. Don't be afraid to just like eyeball it. You are making something that exists, but it's good to just do with your own spin too. Okay, buff out the chest. A little bit more. So it can be more defined. Do the same on the abs. And just a little bit on the collar. Okay. So now let's make the leg muscles. Let's pop them out a little bit. He doesn't have the biggest legs. I'm pretty sure Homelander skips leg day. He's one of those guys. But we're gonna give him some muscle. Let's be gentle. Now go over the knee and make the teardrop of the quadricep. Go up and around. Do this line that shows up when your leg is buffed up. Make the indentations for the back of the knee. Okay. Crease it up here. Don't worry about the crotch area. We'll fix it in the end. Right now, let's get this right. Okay, let's just make it a little bit buffer. And always smooth it out. Okay, time for the texture. Let's try Stucci. No. Yes, Stucci. Let's make the texture about this. No. Smaller. There we go. And now just gently add it all over the suit. Don't hold the left mouse button clicked. It's gonna be very intense and not what we want. We just want to gently tap it around, give a rough texture to the whole suit, and then we are going to smooth it out, so just so that it barely shows, just to get this 3D detail a little bit more popping. But don't overdo it. Okay, it already looks so much more lively. Let's just smooth it out. And I think this has come to life. What do you guys think? I think it's popping. Okay, just work around the whole thing. Make sure it's uniform. And now we can add more detail. Let's put in the elbow pads. You may not have noticed, but he actually has elbow pads. It's not the suit. There, see, he has an extra piece on top of it. And it wouldn't look good if we made it from the same geometry, so let's just make it a separate piece and add it on top. So we subdivide, add little lines, add loops to make some edges look sharper. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. Make it look like the fabric is bending. And just drag this out a little bit and extrude it to make it look like the fold on the picture. Okay, this is acceptable. Let's put it in place and adjust it. Maybe drag it out like this to fit the form better. And just make sure there is enough space so that it shows that it's a different piece, but not too much space. Add a little crease pinching, all the usual stuff. Add more detail like wrinkles. And we're gonna add the texture now, but it needs more geometry. So we are going to subdivide to allow the detail to show up. There we go. So now just add nice little geometry there, the texture. And I think it's looking pretty good. Duplicate it and put it on the other side. Just make sure it is adjusted accordingly. If you can avoid mirroring things, you should, because it flips the normals and sometimes you can get fails. Alright, now let's add a color. It's like this off blue, green, turquoise color. Let's fiddle around until we find it. This looks pretty good actually. Okay, so there is the basic suit done. I'm going to end the video here. And on the next one, we're going to start adding the detailing of the extra accessories. So, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.